How'd you enjoy working for them?
I enjoyed it. I mean, it was fine. It was nothing like, you hear different sides of people's experiences there, through the years. And I've heard some people's experiences be great. Some people's were absolutely horrible. Mine wasn't that bad. I mean, you know, you don't ever get along with every fucking body, so
Right.
there's guys that I didn't get along with and guys, but we were all professional. We didn't, have any kind of blow ups or anything like that. I mean, so um, it was a good company. I'm thankful for the time that I was there. Thankful for what I did and was able to do there. Got no regrets. I mean, yeah. Other than that, only regret I have is probably not smoking weed in Montreal, Canada, with a couple of the big stars at that time, and then I got fucking suspended for it and then fired for it. Yeah,
But the big stars didn't?
no, no, I
Mm,
did. There was had to be an example because story goes is that Montreal was in Canada is one of the biggest markets for WWE, and
okay.
Montreal especially was a huge market for WWE. And here we are, and marijuana is extremely highly illegal in Canada.
Okay.
So I've never, I mean, everybody who's ever known me since a teenager has known because I've never hid it from anybody. I've admitted it and told, I don't brag about it, but I tell, I've never once have I ever said, that I don't smoke marijuana. I've always smoked marijuana. I always have. Um, Never had a drug test at that point in my career. You,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
and so we're in Montreal. We're getting ready for a pay per view. I was in the tag team, the Pit Bulls, me and Jamie Noble, and we're in the parking lot. And Rob Van Dam, Booker T, Batista, Randy Orton. It was like, God, it was a group of us. I mean, and there was this Canadian wrestler dude that everybody knew. There was everybody, I'd met him first. And I think Brian Kendrick, Paul London, yeah, they showed up. Just had a big little circle going on, and we're smoking Canadian weed, and it was really, really good. We're all passing it around. Well, about that time, um, we had to start going over our match, so I had my hits and everything, shook everybody's hands. I'll see you in a little bit. So I started walking back through the parking lot. Is it, parking garage is what it was. So I started walking back through the parking garage to get to the elevator and I passed the Brooklyn Brawler. Well,
Hmm.
Brooklyn Brawler comes, hey kid, what's going on? He goes, hey, who's got the good shit? That's the good shit. Who's got some? Hook me up, brother. Hook me up. And I was like, I don't have any. I was like, if you go down that way and take you a right, I was like, you'll see a group of people, everybody. You'll see Batista, Van Dam, everybody over there. Just go ahead and hit it. That was it. Next thing I know, we do the pay per view. We fly home the next day, putting my key in the door. From getting off the airplane, putting my key in the door, walking in, drop my bags, and start get a phone call. John Laurinaitis, kid, please tell me you weren't smoking marijuana in Canada, Montreal last night. And I was like, well, yeah. And at that time, the marijuana wasn't on the drug test. Okay, so nobody had failed any drug tests at that point, because marijuana wasn't on the drug test.
There was no rule in WWE saying if you do this, no, nothing.
No, there was no rule saying that you couldn't smoke marijuana.
Okay.
Not at that point. It was all what is it? Sports enhancement drugs,
Hmm.
steroids, any kind of opiates,
Right.
things like that. They wasn't even looking for marijuana. But we could have lost one of our biggest venues if the police would have been involved, which they always have police at the arena, of course, but they
Right.
just weren't around us. And honestly, the police that were there knew that we were smoking weed and they could definitely smell it on us, um, with no doubt. And they never said anything about it. They never even asked us questions about it. And so yeah, so he's like, "You didn't smoke him?" I was like, "Yeah, of course I was. I was smoking with Van Dam, smoking with Batista. And Batista was the world heavyweight champion at the time. I'm like smoking with Batista, Booker T, and blah blah blah." He goes, "Well, here's the deal, kid. He goes, Vince is fucking really pissed. He goes, somebody could have got fucked. I was like, how did you even hear? How did you even know?
Right.
He goes, Brawler.
Oh,
Yeah, I was like, oh, did Brawler also tell you that he was wanting to join in on that? And he was asking me where to hook him up at, and stuff. And he goes, well, all of that being said, I get it. He goes, but Vince wants me to make an example of somebody. He goes, you can't be going into somebody else's country, especially one of our biggest venues and in the world, blah blah blah. And we have like Canadian wrestlers, and we really depend on Canada, and blah blah blah. Canada brings us a lot of damn money. You know who the fuck Bret Hart is? God damn it, you know who the fuck Bret Hart? What the fuck? So doesn't that tell you that can't? I was like, why are you getting all upset at me? I was like, so is everybody else going to get fired too? He goes, well, everybody's going to get dealt with in their own way. And I'm like, okay.
mm,
So I was the one to be made the example for because I was a cruiserweight. And they were actually at that point where they were dropping the cruiserweight division anyway. And they were getting a lot of cease and desist uh, from Gary Wolf about using the name the Pitbulls.
okay. Oh,
So,
because he was a pitbull
yeah,
before you guys. Got it.
yeah. And they didn't want to give him royalty money or they didn't want to bring him in to join us to endorse the name or
Right.
anything like that. They just simply was going to just end the tag team. When that happened, they were going to send Jamie, which is he's still there now as an agent, and they were going to
Right.
send me to the ECW brand. Now the problem with that was is before that they didn't want me to be part of the ECW brand. They wanted me to be part of SmackDown. And I
Okay.
didn't already, yeah. And I think what it was, I didn't already turn down the new re-signing because I did not. I turned down going to ECW. I'd watch what they were doing. They were bringing the original guys in, running them for about 6 months, beating them every fucking night, and then sending them home.
Right.
And how do you go from I don't want you to be an ECW guy. I want you to be a WWE SmackDown brand guy. That's who we when we mention the name. This was told to me when I mentioned the name Kid Cash. I want them to think SmackDown, not ECW. That's what they were, what they wanted. So all of this has just changed out of nowhere. Why? I mean, wait a minute, hold on. My contract would have been coming up anyway because I only signed a few years, and so at that point, it was not going to be too much longer. And we were just like, I don't think I want to do that. Well, that's what we need you to do. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't. I just see the writing on the wall,
Right.
and let's just say no. I'd rather go out leaving early, or instead of going out there and being beat for the next 6 months and then
Right.
released
Right.
because your name value.
Sure.
If you go out there and just keep getting beat every fucking night, being an original ECW guy, being a former ECW TV champion, and then you just go out there and get beat every damn night for 6 months. Your value goes down big time. So what kind of a living am I going to make outside of that? So I had to look out after my character. So of course, once that happened, I got the release and stuff like that from the whole drug thing, the whole marijuana thing. So I think it was all just coming down to that anyway. I was going to be
Right.
leaving anyway, one way or the other. This was just a quicker way for them, I guess. So
Yeah.
and they made their example. And after that happened, they did add the marijuana to the drug test and
Interesting.
started, but they didn't fire you. Or suspend you. What they did is they fined you
Right.
like a
Right. Right.
thousand dollars,
Right.
and I think they even took it up to like $2,000 at one point. So, but everybody just paid it.
Right.
you know,